Cat seems to want to sit in front of the camera. All right, so we're starting in standing. Come up to standing. Oh dear. Right, starting off with some hip hurdles. Let me just alter that angle slightly. Bear with me one sec. And get my head in shot. So exactly as it sounds, I'm going to start off with the leg. Let's go right leg. So right leg coming up nice and high in front, out to the side, body can go as well, and then tapping down, and then picking it back up and coming all the way around to the front and tapping down. So like you're just lifting your leg over a big fence, essentially. And because we're allowing the pelvis to go as well, so I'm twisting, this leg gets some mobility, or the hip on the standing side also gets some work. You should start to feel it in the glute as you twist around. Nice and easy to start with. Bigger lift as you can manage. Let's go one more there. And back to the front and release, and have a little bit of a shake if you need it. Release everything off. And then same again on the other side. So leg comes up to the front, out to the side, and down, up to the side, out to the front, and down. Just as big a movement as you've got in your hips this morning. You're not helping, Cat. Try to dodge the cat. Fuck her off. Sat there looking at me like I'm going out of fashion. And then bring it back to the front and release, and again, have a little bit of a shake if you need it. And then we're going to go into some sumo squats. So sumo squats are like squats, but they're just with a wide leg. So you can play with how wide you go, but it's definitely wider than you would ever go in a normal squat. And when you squat down, sit your hips back and down. And I hope you can see my knees are kind of going off over my toes, or in the direction of my toes, I should say. I'm going to bring your hands to a prayer position just to get them out of the way. And you want to, if you kind of want to drop so that your thighs are parallel to the floor. So it's quite low. You get where you get to, it is what it is. And then slowly up. So same again, sinking the hips back and down, trying to keep the chest upright though. We hold and then slowly rise. So taking it dead steady to start with. So as you come down, for most of us, we'll feel this kind of collapsing of the knees and the ankles and the feet inwards. So if you are all on the base of your big toe, see if you can get some weight on the outside edge of your foot as well, and then come back up. Same again, squatting down, butt sticking out as low as you can go, weight on the outside edge of your foot as well as the inside edge, and slowly back up. And down we go. And slowly back up. I'm going to hold it down there this time. I'm going to shift from side to side. So same again, coming down. Check your position, knees out over toes. So I'm physically actively pushing the legs out. And then you're just going to side to side with the hips. Yeah, Charlotte, that's fine. Charlotte's counterbalancing with the arms. You can go there as well if that feels better. And back to center and lift. Same again, down you go. Sink it low. Shift side to side. It's harder work than it looks. And back through center and lift. And again, if you need a little bit of a wiggle in between, feel free to loosen off any tension in the hips and the quads. And this time I'm going to come down, I'm going to hold, and we're going to do some rotation. So sink down into your sumo squat, and then take your right hand to your, in fact, go left hand to right ankle, right hand on the knee. So now obviously I'm pitching forward. So I'm going to use my left hand pulling on my ankle and my right hand on my knee to push me round into rotation. I'm looking up at the ceiling. Hold and breathe. And then slowly release, and you can walk the hands over to the other side, get the hair out of the way. So right hand, so it's the opposite ankle, opposite hand, opposite ankle, And then hand on knee and pull and rotate yourself around, looking up at the ceiling. And release. And you can come out of that, use the hands if you need to, just because we've been down there a little while. We're going to go down and repeat it. So same thing, come down into your squat first, opposite ankle or shin, wherever you can get hold of. Hand on the knee, push yourself around, rotating the chest up towards the ceiling, the face up towards the ceiling. And release, and same again on the other side. Twist yourself around. Back through center and coming up out of that position. Good. So go a little bit wider with the legs, not too wide. I want anybody sliding. So it's like your straddle stretch. We usually do this sat down. So from here, all you're going to do is pitch forward at the hips, so my chest is parallel to the floor, which may or may not give you a hamstring kind of stretch. But you want to lift your tailbone up to the sky. So if I'm sideways on, so you can see what my butt's doing, you don't want to be here. So see if you can actively lift your tailbone up to the sky, and that will lengthen out the hamstrings for you. And then you're going to take the hands to the floor, or the tentative fingers, or the fists, wherever you can get to, and simply take your hips from side to side. So I'm not bending my knees, I'm just shifting my hips from side to side. So it's not a big movement because we don't have a lot of range of movement in that position. But you'll get a stretch into each side of your groin as you move from side to side. Again, trying to keep your sort of chest kind of lifted forward, if you like, and your tailbone lifted as much as you can. And then slowly walk the hands, the feet back in. So you're going to need, I'm guessing that we're all on a mat. We all got a mat? Yeah, somewhere nearby, or a towel or something. You just want something that you can roll up to put under your heels to make this squat a little bit easier. So I'm going to use my mat. Literally, as I said, just roll it up. Should have mentioned this at the beginning. I'm rubbish at remembering what props we need, mainly because I've very rarely used them. But a mat, towel, tea towel, whatever you've got, is just to give your heels some support. So you can get into the bottom of a squat relatively easily. So I'm going to put my heels on. My toes are off, or balls of my feet are off. I'm in this heels lifted position, wide through the feet still, so wider than hip distance, so that you can just get your bottom down into the, the very bottom of a squat without kind of feeling too much discomfort. Some of you be fine, but from there, you're going to grab hold of your big toes. So I'm just sliding my fingertips underneath my toes, and now I can press out into my thighs with my elbows and kind of press out and get a little bit of a groin stretch. And I'm shifting from side to side as per. And then you're going to try and keep your fingertips under your toes, and we're just going to straighten the legs. They won't go straight, right? Very, very unlikely for any of us that they're going to go straight. So you're going up as far as you can, keeping your body on your thighs, so butt to the ceiling, and then sinking back down, back to your squat position. And again, I'm pressing out. Same thing, up to the sky, keep your body on your thighs, and then release back down. Again, shift and press out. Same thing, up to the sky, and release back down, shift from side to side, press out, and again, up to the sky, and bend. Couple more like that. Lift the hips to the sky, keep your body on your thighs, and release. And one last time, hips high, body on thighs, and then come all the way back down into your squat. Press out with the elbows, lift the chest. And then use the hands to press up out that position. You can roll your mat back out. And we come into an elephant walk. So I'm going to go about hip distance apart with the feet. I'm going to take a knee bend as much as you need to get your fingertips to the floor. like so, tented fingers, yeah, tented fingers. And then you're going to drape your body over your thighs. So if I turn sideways on, you should be able to see that my belly is on my thighs, and that's where it's going to stay. Yeah, belly touching thighs the whole time. So from where you are there, you start to straighten the right leg, only till you feel the stretch, and then let it go. Left leg straightens, release. Right leg straightens, release. Left leg, you get the idea. So if you were looking at me from behind, just give you a giggle. I'm kind of look like an elephant walking, my hips swaying from side to side. There's a view that you don't see every day. But my belly is staying on my thighs. I'm staying in that forward fold position. I'm nice and relaxed through the head, neck, and shoulders. I am using my hands for a little bit of support while I'm in this position. And then pause, reset, make sure you draped over your thighs. And then the next progression up, if you like, is to hold on to the backs of your ankles. So I'm physically kind of now pulling myself down more into this stretch. So I'm pulling my chest more onto my thighs. And then I'm going to go again, straightening one leg and the other. As soon as I feel the stretch, I release. So I'm not holding it. Let the head be heavy. You don't need to support the weight of your neck or your head. Couple more little walks. And then release. Same thing again, bend your knees some more and use the hands if you need to just push yourself up out of that bottom position. And just be nice and careful if you're the type that gets a little bit dizzy as you come up out of that kind of upside down state. Right, so diamond hamstring stretch then. So I'm going to go with, let's go with my right leg, the one that's closest to the camera. So I've got this split stance, a bit like a straight leg lunge position. So my feet aren't in line, they are separate so that I'm not having to worry about balance. And then we've got a very similar kind of setup for hamstring stretch. So you're going to bend the front knee and drape your body over your front thigh, can't even say it, front thigh. And then you're going to grab or wrap your elbow around your front knee. So I'm kind of holding my front knee, and that's going to anchor my chest on my thigh. The other hand is there for support. So again, tented fingers or fist, whatever makes sense. Let the head go again. And it's that same thing. I'm pushing forward with the foot to straighten my front leg and then releasing. And the whole idea is that your chest doesn't leave your thigh. Kind of locking myself in position. Straightening and bending. Feel the stretch and then let it go. Last couple. And last one. Press up out of that and then switch sides. So nice and long through the legs. Back legs, or back foot slightly turned out. Same thing, drape your body over the front leg, bending as much as you need to, and then wrap the left arm around the back of the knee, tent the fingers on the right hand, drape over, let the head and neck relax, and then bend it and straighten there. We've put up all the Christmas decorations this week because we're away for most weekends during December. And the cat has decided she likes to eat fake snow. So at this moment in time, I'm extremely grateful that she's insured, because I rather suspect she's full of puffed up foam at the minute. The vet visit coming, I'm guaranteed, just before Christmas. Last couple. And last one, and release. And then you can come all the way down to the mat. And coming down onto all fours, So we're going to practice that whole idea of hurdling the leg. We're going to do the same here. So you're on all fours. I should have brought a hair tie. On all fours, let's go right leg. So you're going to pick up the right leg, out and back, up and over, like it's stepping over a big fence again. Now, it doesn't matter what you do with your body. Yeah, if you want to lean away from it, you probably will have to. But you want to bring that leg forward and straighten it out. Well, say straighten it out. You're going to plant it down with as much control as you can. It will be bent, be kind of coming into a long lunge position. So you're going to plonk the foot in front of the hand and then sink the hips forward and down. So you're coming into like a baby lunge position. Yeah. Then going back the same way, you're going to pick the leg up. So you might need to come back out of your lunge, pick the leg up and take it back over your fence. Yep, up and over, out in front, lunge forward, back, up and over and forward, lunge it through, up and over. One more. This is actually quite hard. I appreciate that. Up and over to finish. And then same on the other side. So as big a step as you can manage, as far forward as you can manage. I can't get nearly as far on this other side. Take it up and back, up and over. Plant the foot with as much control as you can and lunge it forward. Couple more, up and over. Lunge it forward. Take it back one last time, up and over. I'm actually flinging this leg. And then take it all the way back and breathe a sigh of relief. We're coming into our frog series. So knees wide, feet wider, hands under shoulders, tailbone to the sky, so no tucking under, and then gently rock forward and back. See what range of movement you've got in this position. So you can play with foot position. The wider your feet go, you probably feel, oh God, I can hardly move. And then if you come a little bit narrower, you'll find you've got a little bit more movement. So you can play with your foot position, see how it feels. See if there's any position where you think, I need to work more there, I feel more tension or whatever. And then we're coming down onto the elbows. Still rocking forward and back. The cat is now pulling the decorations off the banister, whatever you would call that, wreath. They're all landed on the floor with a clatter. All right, so we're going to take it into the hip drop. So as you come forward, the right leg turns up. You might need to shift your arms forward. Sorry, you need to shift your arms forward so that you can continue letting the hip come down and turning away from the foot that's trying to come over down to the floor. Push it back, foot comes down. Other side, so the foot rotates up and over. The hip comes down and you're looking away from the foot that's lifted. All the way over. And all the way back. Make sure you push back so you're not missing out on the joy of taking the hips backwards. So the hip driving down to the floor almost pushes your body in the opposite direction. So while I'm here, I'm really trying to get my outside ankle down to the floor. So the foot comes up and wringing that movement out, trying to get the foot down to the floor. We'll make that last one. Push back up just so you can narrow the feet a little bit because we're going to do the shoulder version. So front of the shoulder coming down to the floor. So a little bit narrow with the knees, big toes together, hands out like a seal. It feels like a seal to me. And your body weight slightly forward. And then the same thing here, we're going to bend one elbow. So if I'm bending the left elbow, the front of my right shoulder is going to come down to the floor. It's like it pushes your body in that direction. And then switching sides. So right elbow Left shoulder comes down to the floor, and I'm looking away from the arm that's stretching. So the neck gets involved. You can look up towards the ceiling here as well, so you feel a bit more rotation in the neck. Switching sides. Front of the shoulder down to the floor. And then play with the hand position. You can go a little bit more, I don't know, 10 to 2-ish. See if you get more stretch in the front of the shoulder or the chest. I'm just looking for those lines of tension. And just loosening stuff off. You can play with trying to get your armpit down to the floor or the top of your shoulder, wherever you feel like you need it most. And come back to center. And then we're going to take it into our frog unload, which unfortunately, if you did it this morning, you're doing it again. So we've got same position, big toes together, butt sat on heels, walk the hands away, sink the chest to the floor, just the normal first level. Yeah, first level. So rounding the chin to the chest, pulling the floor towards you, lifting the feet, soles of the feet together, drop the hips, squeeze the glutes, push the floor away, lift the chest. Make sure you're nice and open through the chest. Round the chest, chin to chest, round the spine to take it back, feet come down, sink the armpits down, go again, rounding forward, lifting the feet, hips come down, chest lifts, push the floor away. So you stay nice and lifted. And again, chin to chest, round it back. Couple more like that, pulling the floor towards you to round forward. Chest and chin lift, squeeze the feet towards your butt, squeeze the glutes, round it back. One more time, round it forward. Drop the hips, lift the chest. And take it back, round, and release. Okay, so let's come to our straddle position to start with. In fact, we might do a little, yeah, we will. We've got a little bit of time. So come to a straddle position, legs nice and wide, and as upright as you can possibly be in this position. So we'll take it into our 90-90. So bending the legs, coming over to one side, and then trying to sit down into that back hip. That's the awkward, tricky, horrible bit. Back out to your straddle position before you bend to go over to the other side, and then again, sitting down to the back hip as best you can. So back out to straddle and release to the other side. Back out to straddle, bend and release to the other side, trying to sit down into that back hip. And just keep working through side to side. Not special, I've done this loads of times before. Just taking the hips through even more movement. And come back to center. So we're going to take it into some side bends. But if you're in this position, I don't know if you'll have probably seen this, but you'll have seen people kind of side bend. I don't know if you could tell, but you're not really in a side bend. You're almost like your spine's pretty much straight. I've kind of almost just kind of draped my spine over my leg. So we're actually looking to try and get some actual side bend of the spine. So this is how we're going to do it, right? So we're going to bend, let's bend the right leg in. So the heel comes towards the crotch. That just gives you some support. And then you're going to slightly bend the left leg. And I say slightly, it'll depend on you. So a little bit of a bend in the left leg. You're going to stay as upright as you can. So it doesn't really matter what the legs are doing. They're there for some support. So if you need to kind of go a little bit further away with one leg or a little bit closer, you can have a play with it, right? But that's our starting position. I'm going to bring the hands behind the head. Now we're not cranking on the neck. You want to feel like you're pushing your hands back, your head back into your hands. And then I'm going to turn my chest so that my ribs on the left side line up with my left leg. So in that direction. So normally you'd kind of reach the elbow. What I want you to do is reach the left elbow down almost towards your hip. It's not going to get there, but towards your left hip, which is going to take your upper back into a little bit of a side bend. I'm going to hold it there and then start to straighten out your left leg. And you'll feel that take you into more of a side bend, as long as you're keeping your elbow and your thigh or knee connected. And I'm pause there wherever I can get to in the biggest stretch I can. Make sure that the head is pushing back. I'm not pulling on my neck. I'm going to try and lift my right elbow up to the sky. So I'm breathing and holding. Trying to lift my right elbow up to the sky and pushing with my bottom elbow to help me rotate. And then I'm going to bend the left knee to take me out of that stretch and then come all the way back up. Does that make sense? Are we kind of feeling like you're getting into a, some kind of stretch down this side? Yeah. Let's try the other side and we'll come back to it. So same thing, doesn't need to be a wide straddle, obviously. Bringing one leg in, a slight bend in the opposite leg, hands behind the head. I'm going to rotate so I'm in line with the right leg this time. And then I'm trying to get this bottom elbow, or it will be the bottom elbow, right elbow, almost down into my hip crease. So I'm not reaching out here. That would be a straight spine. I'm trying to get more side bend at the top of my spine, and I'm pressing my right elbow into my right thigh to rotate me round a little bit further. And then I'm going to start to straighten my right leg, keeping my elbow and thigh in contact, and see how far I go. And I'm going to hold it there and see if I can rotate my top elbow up to the sky any further. Breathing and holding. It always amazes me with this stretch how different it is from side to side. I've got some feeling on this side, but not very much. And then bend the knee back toward, or pull the heel back towards you so that you can slowly release out of that stretch. And then you can give your shoulders a little bit of a twiddle and a whirl and just let some of that tension go. All right, so if we've got the basics of it, let's go again on the other side. So right leg coming in to center, left knee slightly bent, hands behind the head. So you can kind of, if I can turn this way, you kind of get a sense that if I'm trying to get bend at the top of my spine, sort of this level, I'm going to want to try and get my elbow really close in. Yeah, I want it to be really close in to get it that bend as high as possible. And then if I'm slightly further out, it's going to bring the bend sort of more down here. Of course, your lower back's going, everything's going, but you can kind of play with the positioning. So same again, hands behind the head, rotate towards the left leg. Think about this bottom elbow and choose a different spot. So you could choose to go higher up the thigh towards the knee, or you could choose to try and tuck it even further in towards your groin, your choice. Start to straighten out your leg. And then rotating up towards the sky as best you can. So while you're here now, I'm just going to shift slightly so I can see you guys. While you're here in this horrible position, and you're trying to lift that top elbow even higher, now see if you can breathe into the right side of your ribs. So you're trying to use the breath to expand the ribs even more. And if you can get that sensation of breathing into the ribs, you'll find that each in-breath feels like a deeper stretch. And then very gently bend the back, top leg, bend the only leg back in towards you and release out of it. And we go again on the other side. So yeah, bending the left leg in, right leg out to the side, slightly bent, hands behind the head. Twist so that you are in line with your right leg, and then taking that bottom elbow wherever you feel like you need it. straightening, or well, it probably won't go straight, but you get the idea. Straightening the leg and then breathing into the rib cage. Now you can play with your position while you're here. You know, I can reach my bottom elbow out further along the leg, or I can tuck it in closer. But make sure you're not cranking on your neck still. You know, your head's pushing back into your hands, not the other way around. Breathe into the rib cage. See if you can rotate open even further. And then bend the leg back towards you to take you up and out of that stretch and release the arms. And again, just give your body, in fact, well, let's take it down to the mat because I'm going to get you to wiggle your hips in this position anyway. So just come down onto your front, on your elbows. So you're in a little mini cobra position, essentially. Feet are slightly wider than hip distance apart, and just rocking the hips from side to side. So we're going to rock the hips. So when your hips are free like this, you are, you know, you're not kind of overworking or working or tensing your lower back muscles or tensing your glutes. So we're just in a relaxed cobra to start with. And we're wiggling just to release some of that tension and making sure we're in a relatively good position here. So feet are slightly wider than hip distance. I'm not here with my arm, not too close with my arms. I've gone a little bit wider with the elbows. So I'm not in a particularly high cobra position. It's just a nice relaxed position. And all I'm going to do here is just allow my belly to sink into the mat. So I'm just being heavy. I'm not doing anything other than supporting my weight on my elbows and letting my pelvis, belly hang heavy into the mat. And the reason why we're doing this, which is very little movement, which is unusual for me, is because we're going to break down the Superwoman 4-point lift in a minute. So this is just a nice way of introducing your spine to the fact that it's going to be doing some extension work, i.e. lifting the way that we are here. So again, just see if you can relax even more of your belly down towards the floor. And then we're going to sink the entire body down. So we're going to break it down. There's 3 parts to lifting up into this 4-point lift. There's the legs, there's the upper back, and there's the arms, right? So most people, when they do this movement, will use their lower back here to create the lift. So these muscles in the lower back, and don't get me wrong, they do get involved. You can't switch them off. But we want to get some lift from this part of the spine as well. We want to get this part moving, so it's not all just in the lower back, right? So we're going to break it down. So for the first part, you can rest your forehead on your hands. I'm going to lift my head up so I can see you guys, but you can rest, yeah? You're going to bring your feet and knees together. Now, if you can, when you bring your feet and knees together, if when you lift, it's too much for your lower back, go back to hip distance, but otherwise, let's keep them together. All you want to do from here is roll your heels together so your heels are touching, and that in and of itself should give you the sensation of working your inner thighs and your glutes. So my heels are together, my inner thighs are squeezing, my glutes are squeezing, and then I'm going to release that tension. So roll the heels together, squeeze the inner thighs, squeeze the glutes, and then release the tension, and your heels will roll back out to the side. Roll the heels together, squeeze, and then release the tension. Do that again. So roll the heels together, squeeze everything. Now this time, without lifting the legs off the floor, I just want you to reach them away from you. So when you reach, you probably feel your calves engage, feel your kneecaps lift, your quads get tight. So I'm reaching, 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 and then I'm releasing that tension and letting the heels roll out. Same thing, heels roll together, tension inner thighs, glutes, calves, quads, reach, and then release all that tension. Same again, squeeze everything, reach the legs. Now this time, just see if they'll float just up off the floor without losing that tension. and then release them back down. So it doesn't need to be a high lift. This time I'm going to just add in another piece. You're going to tilt the tailbone down. So pubic bone pressing down into the floor. Same thing, roll the heels, squeeze the glutes, squeeze the inner thighs, float the legs. Let's see if you can keep pushing your pelvic or pubic bone down into the mat. So there's usually a lot of work in the legs and the glutes, hamstrings possibly, inner thighs, but very little work in the lower back. And then release all that tension and let it go. So then you're going to leave the legs alone. They will be doing some work because you're going to have to keep them together. You're going to bring your hands down by your side. So I've got palms on my thighs, palms in towards my thighs. So this time, just have a play with this first, just gently and slowly, so with control, lift your chest up. So you're trying to get your nipples off the floor. This is where everybody goes, yeah, it's all right for you, Kel, you haven't got boobies. My nipples come up straight away, but if you've got boobies, try your best. And then lower back down. This time, add in the shoulders. So you're going to lift the fronts of your shoulders away from the mat, squeeze the shoulder blades together first, and then lift. And then release back down and let the shoulders relax forward again. So shoulder blades coming together, I'm pulling the fronts of the shoulders away from the mat, a lot of work there. Then I'm lifting the chest up and releasing back down. One more time like that, shoulder blades come together, lifting the chest, and then releasing back down. You sometimes get a little bit of cramp in the lower back. If you do, you're going to push back into the child's pose, but I'm guessing nobody's jumping about, so I think we're all okay. So when we lift up, as we have been doing, you'll probably be able to feel some work in these muscles at the lower back. And like I said, they're there for a reason. We're not trying to switch them off, but we're trying to get some work in the upper back. So this time, same starting position, shoulder blades come together. Now this time, leave your, that's how to explain it, leave your nipples on the mat. So can you lift your chest up, but push that part of your body, doesn't need to be your nipples, the part of your chest behind your nipples, leave that in the mat, if that makes sense. And then slowly down. The difference should be that you should be able to feel less work in your lower back as you do that. So same again, shoulder blades coming together. The chest is lifting, but I'm leaving, like I said, that part of my rib cage that's behind my nipples, that nipple line, if you like, on the mat. And then I'm releasing back down. Go one more time. And I'm just playing with these different movements. Yeah, nice, well done, good. And release, good, good, good. Oh, hard work, yeah. All right, so the arms then. And the arms to me are always I don't know, they seem to be the hardest part for some reason. Maybe it's just shoulder mobility, I'm not sure. But so we're going to leave, you can have your head lifted off the mat, because but my nose is still pointed to the mat. Don't worry about your legs at this moment in time. They can be relaxed as much as possible. But can you, with your thumbs up, lift your arms so that your upper arms are in line or past your ears? And then lower back down. So to me, this is the hardest part. It's like, this is mental. In comparison, you know, your legs are so much heavier, but for me, getting your legs up is fine. It's getting my arms up that's a nightmare. So same again, lifting the arms and trying to breathe. So you're going to find a spot to breathe into and then release back down. So when my teacher teaches this, she talks about breathing into the back of the body, and I kind of grasp it intellectually, but being able to do it, you can't suss it. But I like the cue and I like the concept, and every now and again, my body goes, yeah, I get that. So as you lift the arms and you're holding, see if you can breathe into your rib cage around the bra strap level. I mean, you've got lung tissue there, obviously. So it should expand, it should loosen. That's why we did all that side bending. Lift the arms one last time, and then releasing back down. Good. All right, so we're going to have to put all that together at some point. The whole idea of this, I call it Superwoman, just because it amuses me more than anything else. But it's a yoga position, and I can't even remember the name of the yoga position. But in theory, the arms should come up as high as the feet. So you've got this beautiful symmetrical bowl shape, I suppose. You'll find that for me, I tend to be able to get my legs higher than my arms, I think. Is that the right way around? You'll see when we do it. You'll have one that's higher than the other anyway. See if you can get to the point where both are lifted equally. So you're not just abusing one side or the or one end or the other. The only way we can do it is to give it a go. So remember that you are lifting now everything off the floor. Everything's active. If you can get your feet and knees together, great. I struggle with that now as I come up into this full position. I tend to go hip distance apart. But if you can squeeze together, do. And it's my arms that are coming up higher this time. So see if you can get it to be an almost even position. So as we usually do, we're going to reach the arms, reach the legs, lift everything up off the mat, and then release back down. And again, lengthen before you lift. And release back down. Good. And again, lengthen to lift. And release. One last time. Lengthen and release. Come back onto your elbows, so that nice low cobra, and just let your hips rock from side to side. So you're just loosening off all that tension that we've just created. And then come back into whichever child's pose makes sense to you. I like toes together, knees apart, and sinking down there. If you go knees together and drape over, you'll get more flexion, which might feel nice after all that work we've just done in extension. So your choice with your positioning. Good, good. Okay. And you can release out of that and come to seated. So sitting on your bottom. Bloody hair everywhere. I've got one dangling. Dangler, got it, right. So diamond position with the legs, a loose diamond. I'm not doing the whole butterfly stretch. A loose diamond. So my soles of the feet are, when I relax, they don't actually touch, kind of roll out. So don't worry about whether your feet are touching each other. You just got this relaxed diamond shape to start with. To be kind of there. You can play with how long that is as well. It feels different in certain positions. So I'm going to sink back slightly. So I'm going to let my tailbone tuck under, and I get my let my chin sink towards my chest. And I'm going to let my upper back slump over. And I mean, essentially that's what we're doing. It's a slump. So you're just letting your body slump over. Let the back of the neck lengthen. So I'm letting my head hang. Chin's on my chest, hence why my voice sounds funny. And all I want you to do again is try and breathe into the back ribs. I can do it here because it's a lot easier in flexion. A little bit harder when you're lifting into that extension. So just a counter position to what we've just done. And then from there, lengthen back up slightly, just so you're a little bit taller. You don't need to be bolt upright, still a relaxed position. And then just bring your chest or your torso a little bit further forward. So I'm using the muscles of my legs to pull me forward. I'm not cranking myself, but I am kind of still draped and relatively relaxed, but now I'm leaning forward slightly. My head's still, or my neck's still relaxed, so I'm not reaching with the chin. Let the back of the neck be long. And you might find that now you can kind of, you can find your feet with your hands. Same again, just a few deep breaths there into the back of the ribs before we move on. So I'm going to leave my left hand on my left foot. I'm going to take my right hand onto my right knee, just on the inside of my knee there. And I'm going to use that hand to push me into a little bit of rotation. So same again, I'm doing this nice and gentle because we've done some pretty serious kind of movement up until now. So I'm pressing down slightly with my right hand to push me into rotation. And I am actually pulling a little bit on my foot with my left hand just to help me round that little bit further. I'm looking up towards the ceiling, but I'm not forcing my neck all the way around. So hold and breathe. And again, trying to breathe into the right side of the ribs this time. Same thing. You're just trying to expand the rib cage, a bit like an accordion with your in-breath. And then slowly release. You're going to take hold of your right foot with your right hand. Your left hand comes onto your left knee. Same thing. I'm going to gently push myself into a little bit of rotation. With the left hand, the right hand gently pulling on the right foot to take me around that little bit more. And breathing into the back ribs of the body. Very gently de-rotate, so your chest is back square. You can drape forward a little bit. It depends how far your legs are away from you. You can go a little bit longer with your diamond so that you have to reach further for your feet, which feels different in the hips, and then let your head relax down. Or you can be a little bit closer with your diamond and let your head hang. For me, I find it's not a stretch as such for me, it's just a deeper sensation into the hips with a longer diamond. I get some sensation into the groin, into the glutes. Everybody's different. You might not feel anything, and that's okay. Your head is nice and heavy, so your neck is relaxed. And then slowly release out of that. And we're going to come into a piriformis stretch, long hold piriformis stretch. So if you can, we're going to do the piriformis stretch with the bottom leg bent, right? So essentially it's another pretzel position, tying ourselves into a knot. If that's not great for whatever reason, you can stretch out the non-stretching leg, which it just takes it down to an easier level, if you like. But otherwise, I'm going to be here. I'm going to try and sit both butt cheeks down towards the floor. The foot that's trying to be flat on the floor. Yep, nearly flat on the floor. I've got one foot that's trying to be flat and one butt cheek that's trying to be flat, and I can't have both. So I just have to do the best I can. You might have more flexibility around this part of the foot. But the usual story, then we're going to wrap the opposite hand or arm around the knee. You're going to kickstand with the opposite hand close to the body so that you can lift your spine up and twist. And you want to really feel like you're sitting down into the lighter sit bone. It'll be the one on the stretching leg. And we're going to hold. We're going to do a contraction here. So you stay where you are. You can look at me if you want to, but I'm not going to be doing very much. I'm just turning to look at you. I am pressing my outside of my knee into my elbow, like I'm trying to put the knee down on the floor. So it's that action. So that's the contraction. So against the strength of my elbow, I'm going to push my knee into my arm. Pushing, pushing, pushing. 3, 2, 1. I'm going to stop the contraction. I'm going to relax as fully as I can. And then I'm going to pull my knee towards my chest and see if I can rotate around that little bit further. Hold and breathe, hold and breathe. See if you can sit your butt cheek down any further. See if you can flatten your foot any further. And then slowly unrotating, you're going to take your both hands in the opposite direction and just plant them. So if I was turning my chest, I'm planting my hands shoulder distance apart, like I would if I was on all fours. So I'm twisting it away this time. And then I'm going to start to lower myself down to the mat. So I am flexing here. Elbows are bending back. I did the strength thing on Saturday or this morning. It's a bit like the side push-up. Just my legs are tied in a knot instead of straight out in front. And then I'm going to push back up. And I'm going to release out of that position. Ugh. So unknot your little legs. And we go on the other side. So crossing over. Wiggle into position. See what you've got on this side. It amazes me how one side is so much different when we do this stretch. So same thing, I'm trying to get my butt cheek down, the foot down. The reason why I'm trying to get, so if you, when I say foot, I'm actually reaching the ball of my big toe down to the floor. So I'm trying to, what you're actually doing as you do that is mobilizing the front half of your foot, right? So the ball, or the base of the big toe, I should say, I'm trying to reach that down to the mat. So my arch is lifted. I'm not rolling onto the inside of my foot. I'm trying to reach the ball of the big toe down. So I'm getting some mobility into the foot, but at the expense of being able to drop my back hip down. Yeah, this is how your feet and your hips are connected. It's quite clever, really. Okay, so same thing. Wrap the elbow around. The hand that you are tenting behind you you want to be touching your bottom with that hand. It wants to be that close to your body. So it's tented right next to you so that you can lift your spine into that rotation. And you get to where you get to and you breathe. Keep lifting the spine. Keep reaching the base of the big toe. Keep reaching the sit bone down towards the mat. You might actually be touching with your butt cheek, which is great, but you will still be able to feel how you're heavier on one side and lighter on the other. You know, so still reaching the sit bone down towards the mat, aiming eventually to have equal weight on both sit bones. And then the same thing, so we're going to do the contraction. So I'm going to press my knee out into my elbow or my forearm. And I'm going to use my strength in my arm to stop it moving. I'm pressing quite firmly. I mean, if you could see me close up, you'd see my fist and my forearm are shaking with the tension I'm holding. I'm pushing my leg out that hard for 3, 2, 1. Release. Don't push anymore. Take a deep breath in, lift the spine. As you exhale, relax as much as you can and just see if you can rotate any further. See if you can sit your hip down. See if you can reach the big toe. You might find things have just given a little bit. It's given a lot for me on this side. I'm nearly equal weight on my butt cheeks now. It doesn't happen very often. And then ever so gently releasing out of that. Even though we've just done that and it's a very similar stretch, we are going to finish off with the pretzel. So coming down onto your side, because you can't do it enough during the day. Already done it once this morning, can't do it enough. So top knee, bottom ankle. We'll do the contraction for this one as well this morning. So you're going to take that bottom leg back, open the chest to the sky. And just have a moment there. Let's just do the bottom leg contraction. So you've got your ankle, hopefully, or your foot. Ankle will be better. So I've flexed my foot, so I've got hold of my ankle. So I'm going to press my ankle into my hand like I'm trying to straighten my leg. So I'm pressing, 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 and that will give you a stretch into the front shoulder and chest as well, if you let it. So I'm pressing, pressing, pressing. 3, 2, 1. Stop pressing. Relax as much as you can and just see if you can pull that bottom leg further behind you. See if it's got a little bit of give. And then very gently release out of that side, and we go to the other side. Definitely feel how much rotation we've done this morning. So same thing, I'm trying desperately to grab my ankle so I can flex my foot to give me something to hold on to, pulling the leg back behind me as far as it wants to right now, which isn't very far on this side, and then opening the chest to the ceiling and breathing. And then we do the contraction here. So I'm pressing the front of my ankle into my hand, like I'm trying to straighten my leg. It's a strong contraction. Pull, 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 push, push, push even. Breathe as you do that. Keep pushing. 3, 2, 1. Stop contracting. Breath in as you exhale. See if you can move deeper into that stretch. And try and relax completely without letting your body parts twang away. And then ever so gently unwind yourself and breathe a sigh of relief. That's done. I shouldn't say that, should I? I should say, have a round of applause for how amazing that was. Not unravel yourself and try to breathe. Hi. Right, I'm going to switch the recording off. Hang on, let's do that. And then nobody needs to